Good evening and welcome to the Charter Township of Elmwood Planning Commission's regular meeting convened on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. Location, the Township Hall at 10090 East Lincoln Road, Traverse City, Michigan. Please stand and join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Carrie, would you please call a roll?
Chris Mikowski.
Here.
Kendra Luda.
Here.
Jeff April.
Here.
Joan Kuzma.
Here.
Nate McDonald.
Here.
Rick Bechtold.
Here.
And Doug Roberts is excused.
Thank you.
Not for too much longer, right?
No, he's due to be back
Tomorrow
any day
night.
now. We are at item D, limited public comment only on the agenda items. We do have two public hearings tonight, and there will be a public comment period within the public hearing. So if you wish to make a public comment specific to the items on the agenda, please come to the podium and do so now. And I will open public comment at 7:01 p.m.
Go just like this tomorrow night, dude.
Seeing no one readily coming forward for public comment at this time, I will close public comment also at 7:01 p.m. There will be another public comment session at the end of our meeting. Moving on to item E, agenda modifications and approval. We will need a motion to move forward with the agenda, either as it is presented or with modifications.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the agenda as printed.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Support.
We have support. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The agenda is approved as presented. We have two sets of minutes. We will take the minutes of the February 21st, 2023 meeting first.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes as printed or as presented for the regular meeting of February 21st, 2023.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on February 21st, 2023.
Support.
We have support. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The minutes of the February 21st, 2023 regular meeting are approved as presented. Now moving to the special meeting convened on February 28th, 2023.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 28th, 2023 as printed.
We have a motion to approve the special meeting of February 28th, 2023 as presented.
Seconded.
We have support. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The special meeting minutes of February 28th, 2023 are approved as presented. Moving on to item G, consent calendar.
Not
It is actually not in your e-packet. so-
Okay, so that's, we'll bypass that. Item H, declaration of conflict of interest. Commissioners, please review the remaining items on the agenda. If you feel as though you possess a conflict with one or more of those items, please identify that at this time. Hearing none, we'll declare that there is no conflict present at our meeting tonight. Item I, old business. We have nothing on the agenda. Item J, new business, JA, extension request for SPR 2022-02 Staples Mixed Use. Dusty, you gonna explain some things for us, please?
An easel, wow. Look at
Brought
him.
a picture,
Brought a picture, that helps.
so that, just to refresh your memory, Joe. Dusty Christensen with Mansfield Land Use Consultants. I'm here tonight on behalf of Keith Staples, the property owner and applicant for SPR 2022-02, which you approved as a planning commission in May of last year. We're quickly coming up on our 1-year expiration date for this site plan approval. And we're just getting to the point as a project team where we're ready to pull permits and start construction, but need to extend the SPR and the site plan approval for another year in order to make that happen within the confines of the site plan approval and the zoning ordinance. Since last May, when this project was approved, the owner has been working through some design details for the buildings and actually had condo docs prepared and recorded to the point that he could start taking reservations on units. And those reservations have added up to the point that he's ready to pull permits, and those reservations will fund the first phase of construction. So we're ready to go. In our office, we've been working through getting permit drawings ready, and this is just one step that we have to take to make sure that everything is on the up and up heading into construction season. So I don't know if you guys remember the project very well, but it's a 24-unit residential development, and there's a mixed-use component where we have about 5,000 square feet of retail space on the first floor of the main building here. That fronts on M22, directly adjacent from the marina, kind of near the Center Point building and the restaurants to the north. We had an internal drive system that connected the project from M22 out to Cherry Bend Road, and 5 of those 24 residential units that I mentioned are small 12,000 square foot lots. Another 5 are individual detached condominium units here, and then the remaining 14 are on the second and third floor of the main building. And then have garages either on the first floor of that main building or in the detached garage building here. At the time of the project approval, I don't remember there being any really contentious issues, and I really don't have too much to share at this point. So if there are any questions, I can answer them, but really we're just here to check the box of getting the site plan approval extended for another year.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Has the plan changed at all? I don't remember the drive going on the south side.
We had to make this connection here. So originally, this private road that stretched off Cherry Bend was short stopped somewhere in here.
Yes,
It provided access to Unit 5.
yes.
As part of the plan review process, staff brought up that we needed to make that connection, not necessarily make the connection to the backside of the parking lot, but provide private road frontage along the entire width of Lot 5. And so we added that in after the fact and provided plans to staff. But the last drawing that you would have seen at the meeting, I don't think had that.
Yeah, it stopped
It
just about
basically stopped
halfway.
kind of right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no other changes other than that, does?
No.
Thanks. It looked a little different, so thank you for that. From this distance. Yeah, I don't have, unless Sarah, is there any other differences that you know of other than that drive?
The area in front of the detached condominium units, that actually meets the definition of a private road, so that'll need to be a private, but that's, I mean, it's been conditioned already.
Okay.
So it doesn't, alter any condition, set forth by the planning commission. And, obviously any extension would include all, I'm looking at the 10 of the conditions that were set forth back by the Planning Commission last May. Those would carry on for another year.
Okay. Any other questions for the developer or for Sarah?
Sarah, do you mind listing those 10 conditions?
Well, I'm looking at the staff report. I don't have my final, obviously, because I know sometimes we do alterations to the staff report. So ZA recommended the property owner is responsible for obtaining all other applicable permits done prior to obtaining a land use permit. Project involves a mixed-use structure with 3 commercial rental units. The property owner shall confirm with the ZA that any proposed tenant's business is allowed under the zoning ordinance. Any future proposed change of use shall be permitted appropriately. A private road is required, and the property owner must apply for and obtain a preliminary and final private road permit. This is a longer one, so apologies. Per the project representative, 1 parking space per 250 square feet of retail space is required by this ordinance, was used to calculate the parking required for these commercial spaces. A total of 21 surface lot spaces are proposed for the retail space. The commission recognizes that certain uses call for different parking requirements. Therefore, the property owner shall confirm with the zoning administrator that any proposed tenant's business complies with the parking requirements / parking on site. Almost there, not really. Once the project has been completed, the property owner or their rep shall submit an as-built in accordance with section 8.6 of the zoning ordinance. The proposed condominium bylaws shall be reviewed by the township attorney to ensure conformance with the requirements. Final condominium bylaws shall be recorded at the Register of Deeds, and a copy of the recorded document shall be provided to the township. And then, I'm not gonna read all of the next one, but pretty much compliance with the lighting section of the zoning ordinance. Also, landscaping shall be maintained in a healthy, growing condition. Diseased or dead material shall be replaced within the current or next planting season. The Planning Commission is not approving any signage under the site plan review. Any proposed signage will need to comply with the zoning ordinance, and the property owner shall obtain a sign permit from the zoning administrator. And this is the one where, again, I don't have my notes in front of me, but, because there's that patio in the front, I'm not sure if you remember, we had some, so I can't remember where we stood on this last recommended one. But I'll read it, aloud, because this was in the staff report, which I have up, and says, as defined by the ordinance, a patio is an area adjacent to a building at an off-grade of an at-grade impervious surface and is used exclusively for sitting and relaxing. The patio in front of the mixed-use structure was not included when calculating parking requirements, and therefore that area shouldn't be used for an expansion of commercial use. I know we had at length discussion on that, so again, I can't recall where we stood on that one.
Well, I think from what I recall from our discussion and the explanation that was provided at the time is if you were an employee or resident in the 3-story building, and it was a nice day and you wanted to eat lunch outside, you could go to the patio and do that. But if there were a business, a sandwich shop or whatever, they couldn't use that common patio area to increase their allowed seating.
That seems to be my recollection as well. But I always like looking at my notes before confirming for the record.
If I may, one further question. How has this been looked at with whatever MDOT's gonna do for a sidewalk through there?
Yes, so the sidewalk that's shown on the plans conforms with the general plans for the highway reconstruction project.
Excellent.
And you asked about the sidewalk, but generally, we've had discussions with MDOT about phasing that driveway in from a construction standpoint with their construction project. So MDOT has said, hey guys, when you build this thing on the first go-around, if it's before our construction project, just get it roughed in, don't pour your curbs, get access to the site, and then when the highway project happens, they'll build the full approach.
That's excellent. That's the way it should be done. Good. What about snow for the wintertime? Did we ever come up with something for that?
Yeah, we have snow storage shown on the plan. I think it shows in blue here, at least in one of the locations.
Okay.
We had another one, I think over here, that didn't print on this version, but we were required somewhere in the ballpark of 1,000 square feet of snow storage, and we provided just over that amount, so we complied with the ordinance standard.
Excellent.
I like the idea that that one private road was connected to the parking lot. I'm thinking if emergency vehicles had to get in and out of there for anything, it's a little straighter shot for them than having to kind of go part way and back up and zig
Yeah.
and zag.
And it certainly gives them an alternate route too, so if previously if the only route here was
Mhm.
blocked somehow, they could get around.
Yeah. Okay. Will there be any gates on that at all, or just?
No.
Okay, thank you, okay. Any other questions or concerns?
Just, the only question I have is phasing. You mentioned phasing. What's the first phase?
The first phase is the drive on 22, the parking, and then the primary building that faces on 22, along with the garages for that building.
Okay.
Some of the other units may get incorporated into that, but that's the plan right now.
Excellent.
I have a question about timing, more for curiosity. So this is a one-year extension. Would the project need to be complete by the end of the year, or just like that kind of
Substantially
substantial work
complete.
done, right? Okay. That's what
We've talked about this before, so
I
that's
thought
why I
that
make
that's
that
what it was.
face.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to confirm. So I was like, well, that's a lot for 1 year, so good. I'm glad it's that way.
Yeah. Which we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because yeah, substantially is open to, yeah,
Little interpretation on that one.
as long as it's not a pile of dirt.
Yes.
Will there be a full basement in that building?
No.
basement at all? So I don't-
No basement.
Well, I have no further questions.
So we will need a motion to initiate the extension.
I would make that motion.
We have a motion to grant a one-year extension to SPR 2022-02 Staples Mixed Use.
Support.
We have support for the motion. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion is carried. The one-year extension is granted, and that 1 year goes from the
The date of issuance
date of issuance. Okay, thank you.
Thank you
of
very
the
much.
original decision, to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
The next item, JB, public hearing for ZO 2017-04-20, a zoning ordinance amendment to amend section 2.2, and to amend section 5.4, section 9.8.B.1 through 3, section 8.3 through 8.6, section 9.5. And what I'm going to do is read the statement prior to a public hearing, and I would like, if there is no objection from the commission, I would like to have the single reading apply to both public hearings.
I would say that would be appropriate with the crowd that's present.
Thank you. This public hearing to receive public input on the following matter, ZO 2017-04-20, and at the conclusion of that public hearing, ZO 2017-04-21, in accordance with the official notice, is now open. The first for ZO 2017-04-20. The Elmwood Township Planning Commission would like to make it clear that it is bound by rules and laws and that these will be followed when weighing the case. In order to conduct the hearing within a reasonable time and to keep the subject at hand, you are asked to observe the following rules. The applicant will state their case fully and furnish the commission with pertinent information concerning the property. Township staff input, if any, will then be provided. Those wishing to speak for, against, or about the proposal will be heard. The public is encouraged to state their name and address if they are a resident, property owner, or business owner, but are not required to do so in order to speak. Please refrain from repeating what has been said before, and please do not involve personalities. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, enforced by the vice chairperson or secretary. Be specific as possible. All statements or questions must be directed to the chair. Once the public hearing is concluded, the commission will undertake its deliberations and make a decision during the regular meeting. During its deliberations, commission members may ask questions of any person in attendance. Of course, you are not required to answer any question, but answering could be helpful to the commission. Any such questions and answers do not reopen public comment. The matter may be tabled or continued if more information is needed to make an informed decision. If the zoning ordinance allows the commission to make a decision, then the matter may be approved, denied, or approved with conditions. The decision may be delayed or postponed for cause as determined by the commission members. A rezoning or proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance will proceed with the commission's recommendation being forwarded to the Leelanau County Planning Commission, which has 30 days to make a recommendation on the matter, and then to the Township Board, which will have the final determination to approve, not approve, or modify the matter. If the Township Board recommends a modification, the matter may be sent back to the Commission for input and another public hearing if necessary. The public hearing for ZO 2017-04-20 is now open at 7:22 p.m. I will start with a public comment session pursuant to ZO 2017-04-20. If you wish to make a comment regarding those proposed zoning amendments, please come to the podium and do so now. Seeing no one coming forward for public comment, I will close public comment at 7:23 p.m. And at this point, I should probably have a motion to close the public hearing so we can begin the deliberations.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Are we going to do that on each of them? Open and close it each time?
Oh,
I
you
don't
have to.
know if you
They're
wanna
two
do that.
separate.
The two separate,
Yeah,
yeah, that's,
all right.
yeah. We have a motion to close the public hearing for ZO 2017-04-20.
Second that.
We have support. Any further discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? The public hearing for ZO 2017-04-20 is closed at 7:24 p.m. Now it's time for our deliberations. Commissioners, in reviewing the proposed changes, are there any questions or concerns that should be discussed now, or do you have any questions for Sarah? And I'll just maybe start by having Sarah just give us a brief synopsis as to why we are considering these changes.
So as we know, whenever we have time, which I'm surprised we found some time because we're not gonna have time in the next few months. I've been going through, the zoning ordinance and kind of keeping track of, things that I would suggest would be changed, either, in accordance with, other municipalities, state law, or just, correcting, potential errors in the zoning ordinance. So this is kind of like a plethora of different changes kind of thrown into one. You know, we've discussed these changes at the last meeting when it came before you guys as introduction. So I don't, necessarily want to treat them, item by item. But, generally speaking, I view all of these changes as either like clarifying the intent, correcting an error, or, aligning our definitions with state definitions. So I don't know how the commission feels. If they have, questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Yes.
Sarah, just a quick question on the first one, I guess, for club. Is political struck just because it interferes or defines something different, or?
Political could be taken to be, social purposes, but the township also shouldn't be in the place where it is regulating anything political.
Okay.
So,
Is that just general, like, good best practices? Is that-
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
But if a political group or any group that believes something about government, they could formulate a club following the zoning requirements.
right, I mean, your social club, yeah,
Yeah, we're not excluding
no.
any,
And we're not seeking to just regulate, political clubs by any frame of the imagination. It's, if something like falls under, a marina, association or something like that, you're not trying to regulate it. It's just, that use is allowed in certain zoning districts. It's just removing a word from the definition. Does not change the intent.
Could we potentially use that in an example?
Go to our zoning ordinance. Just one moment, please. I closed that tab when I pulled up the, special conditions from the last. So I would note, so our table of dimensional, not table of dimensional uses, our table of uses actually doesn't, specify club as an individual use. It falls under either an athletic club or a yacht club. There we go. I kept on saying marina club earlier. I knew that didn't sound right. But yeah, we don't actually have its own separate use for a club.
So just, if like, let's just say theoreticals and stuff, if an independent political group wanted to campaign in certain areas and hold an event, would that not be allowable with this?
The township would not.
I don't think the township could regulate that level of activity. I think if they were going to, they purchase a building and they want to have the,
A banquet hall kind of
banquet
situation, like
hall.
the Masonic temple has, it's just that is an allowed use if you're gonna have, so many, people gathering on a regular basis. That is, but like if somebody wanted to have, a political rally in the park, would the planning commission be regulating that? Certainly not.
but for instance, if, let's say, the Sons of Italy decide to have a chapter in Elmwood Township, they could essentially buy property, put a building up like similar to the Masonic Hall, and they could, if it was in conformance with our, if the building and lot and everything conformed to our current zoning ordinances, the Sons of Italy could conduct activities there. They could promote people of Italian heritage for elected office or whatever from that setting. Or I guess if they were going door to door handing out leaflets, that's not something that we can.
That would
Could
not be
regulate.
regulated, no.
I have a question with the motel end of things. the new wording in it that says in which access to the rooms are arranged in a lobby or office with someone on duty at all times. I don't know, I don't know, is that what we want to do? It sounds kind of strict. But, I
mean, that's typically what a motel is.
well, it just seems like I've been in even some larger chain motels where they don't have the staff anymore to keep somebody there, and so after a certain time at night, they just walk away from it or whatever. So I don't know. It's just my thoughts. It's hard to staff something 24 hours a day anymore.
I feel like typically they are though, because they have, if someone shows up at 3 in the morning, there has to be somebody there to keep it
Take
open
over.
for them. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I know when I've shown up at 2 or 3 in the morning at places from like a long day on the road or something, people have been there, so I assume
Yeah,
that they are.
just, like I say, there's so few people working anymore. I don't know if that's a restriction we want to put in there or not.
You can say typically, but I mean, motels and hotels, they typically have somebody on site. It's,
Right.
I mean, he might
that's-
not be in.
I could see it with
plain-
100
Yeah.
rooms, but it's kind of expensive for a 10-room place to have somebody on staff. You see what I mean? I would agree with you with, Holiday Inn or something like that, but Bob and Tom cabins that they rent out and call it a motel, I don't know if they'd have somebody on staff or not. It's just a thought.
Yeah, and this is slightly connected but rather remote. I did have the experience of where we made reservations, and we got there, and about an hour before we arrived, we received a text with a security code that we went to some app that we had to download, and then once we entered that code in the app, they downloaded the electronic code for the lock. So you just essentially took your smartphone up to the lock and it opened, thank goodness. 'cause
but if it
was-
didn't, who would, was
Uh,
somebody
there
on
was-
duty to answer
Yeah,
a
there
call?
was another number that you would call. Now, that person was probably somewhere on the property, but they weren't just, you didn't see who they were, and for all I knew, they could have been maybe a mile away in another property, and they scoot over and take care of whatever. But
Well, then could we modify by throwing the word "and" in there?
Or what about like a distance? Must maintain somebody who is within, a 5-minute or 5-mile
I-
drive.
I don't know if
or
we need to get so
whatever.
nitpicky.
No.
If you insert typically, it's gonna cover all those things. We
Mhm.
don't,
Yeah.
just because
Yeah.
you're either on premises or not on premises
Mhm.
doesn't denote the fact you're a motel, right?
Yeah.
So it's, just because you're not satisfying that condition,
and I would,
someone on duty at all times, I mean, someone on duty where, right?
Yeah,
It could
that's
be-
why, to my question, I mean,
Right.
like phone calls, like somebody is there
Right,
to,
exactly.
yeah.
But it
Yeah, so
also
I'd say
says-
"and" or typically, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It also states that this is all combined in one facility, so it really is kind of like the cabin thing. That wouldn't be a motel then? Would that be something separate?
A facility can mean multiple buildings.
Okay. So it'd be
Right.
combined into one, okay, I guess,
Yeah, building or group of buildings, whether detached or attached, attached, yeah.
so you're proposing inserting typically,
With someone typically on duty at all times.
okay.
And I don't believe that is a major modification that would require renoticing.
Right.
Okay, yeah. To me, that makes sense, and I'm also, another thought is probably I don't know about their risk manager for insurance, if they require somebody to be reasonably immediately available or near immediately available. But I can understand Jeff's point where it's really hard to hire people for some of those positions. But I think I would be comfortable with typically.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, it just seems like you're restricting a 10-room dwelling by, or 10-room outfit by forcing somebody to be there. I don't have any further questions.
Any other thoughts on the insertion of typically? And that's a minor amendment, so we could deal with that tonight, okay. Any other questions or concerns? I just had one quick one on campground. We didn't have to, it's just whatever, however the owner or operating entity designs their campground, we didn't have to differentiate between rustic or poured pad with, okay.
No, we're aligning our definition with that of the states.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. If there are no more questions or concerns, we'll need a motion to move forward with this approval.
I would make a motion with, to approve the approval of the zoning ordinance 2017-04-20 amendment to the Township Board and forward it on to the county with the text added typically.
Okay. We have a motion to forward this grouping of zoning ordinance amendments to the county zoning planning commission with ultimate approval resting with the township board. The one change is the word typically is inserted in the motel definition, and it would read in which areas to the room is arranged in a lobby or office with someone typically on duty at all times.
Support.
We have support. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion is carried. So ZO 2017-04-20 will be forwarded on to the Leelanau County Planning Commission. Excuse me. The public hearing for ZO 2017-04-21 is now open at 7:37 p.m. And I will open the public comment pursuant to ZO 2017-04-21 at that same time. If you wish to make a comment regarding this proposed amendment, please come to the podium and make your comment. Seeing no one coming forward for public comment, I will close the public comment period at 7:38 p.m. And we will need a motion to close the public hearing for ZO 2017-04-21. Once the public hearing is closed, we can proceed with our deliberations.
So moved.
We have a motion to close public hearing ZO 2017-04-21.
Support.
Do you have support? Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing for ZO 2017-04-21 is closed at 7:39 p.m. Now we're on to deliberations. And basically, this is just, we are changing our definition of basement to conform with the preferred language in the National Flood Insurance Program.
Yep, so all of the changes before you are not being proposed by me. I'm just kind of the in-between person. These are being proposed by the Michigan State Floodplains Coordinator. So this is to comply with federal law. So the township can continue to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, which provides discounts to, well, subsidized flood insurance. And these changes need to be adopted by the township this year. So this is why it's being presented to you as a separate zoning ordinance amendment. This needs to move forward.
So I guess I have one question, is any housing within the township not currently followed this that has a basement?
Pre-existing nonconformity, any improvements, in the, in federal, in the flood insurance program, if there's a substantial damage, which usually is 50%, or more value, it needs to conform to the regulations in place. Generally speaking, if you're in a flood-prone area, you should not have a basement, and it would be in your best interest to not have anything of value in there and to, proceed with not having it, because there's a strong chance, not so much in Elmwood Township that it could flood, but, it wouldn't, it can, everything that pre-exists can continue to exist. It's just, when there is damage, it would need to conform.
I've lived here all my life. I've never seen a flood in Elmwood Township.
Right, and I understand that, but
I'm coming from a coastal community in Massachusetts, so it happens a lot.
I
You don't want basements there.
I have a question regarding the definition of basement, and I probably overthought this, but here goes. Suppose the basement was built into the bank of a home, and the open side of the basement had some dirt berming it, and it faced, let's say, the river or water source. You don't have to have basically the walls covered with dirt on all four sides. You just, basically, the basement floor has to be below grade on all four sides.
Any area of a building having its floor subgrade below ground level on all sides.
Okay, and we would, in that case, the grade would be the lowest elevation.
It's floor subgrade.
Okay. Okay. I was just.
Our current definition is more complex than
Okay.
what is being recommended by the state floodplains coordinator.
Okay,
so I guess another quick question is, what do they consider ground level of the property?
Well, does it? that
Below
doesn't
ground
matter.
level, so.
If any of it, if you read that definition, any building having a floor subgrade below ground level, so that means any of the four walls or whatever, how many
Okay.
walls, if your basement is not a walkout, then it's a basement, basically. So even if you've got egress windows, it's a basement. If you have a walkout, then you're fine. In some aspects, it makes it worse. You have a walkout and you're still in a floodplain, you're gonna get your basement soaked worse
yeah.
than if you had dirt piled against it. You see what I mean?
Thank you.
Is that,
It's clear in my head now, thank you. I would just
it's,
put.
yeah, it's not clear in mine, but
Well,
you could still be in the floodplain and still get you could get
Mhm.
worse flooding if you didn't have the dirt mounted up against your building, if you had that walkout.
okay. Any other questions or concerns about the basement definition and then floodplain management?
Well,
I have a quick question, just for
Yeah.
clarification. So a basement is not a walkout, correct? Or a walkout is not a basement?
Under the proposed definition,
Okay.
no.
Got it.
And again, it's being proposed by the state floodplains coordinator
Right.
in order to conform with the federal program.
So this
This
kind
is
of
what it will be.
This
Yes.
is sort of the category where
I'm sorry.
we've got any choice open to us as long as it kind of conforms to the
Yeah.
language that they provided
Yeah.
for us.
So this is something that we will have to revisit.
No, I mean, I don't follow.
Well, this is something that they have not set directly into place, correct?
We have to set it in place.
Yeah, it's in place for the feds.
Yes,
Got it.
it's a federal definition. We are aligning our definition with those that are in the program that we want to be a part of. If we do not adopt this, we are not part of the program.
The tough thing is, I know a lot of crawl spaces, doesn't really specify living space that they pour a floor in.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where this text did come before you guys for introduction. You know, I mean, like, I'm happy, obviously, I mean, during public hearing, we can have those discussions. I mean, it's just, I'm not in a position to necessarily, like, change that, because this is what's being proposed by the state in
Right.
order to conform with the federal program. I mean,
I know what you're saying, Sarah, but I think this is confusing to other parts of our ordinance. People read this portion of our ordinance and then go to other portions, and then they think, well, wait a minute, does this coincide with the rest of our ordinance? And I don't believe that it
But
does.
if they were not in one of the designated floodplains, then it really wouldn't. This applies just to really dwellings that would be in a designated floodplain.
well, the definition of basement would apply to everybody.
Okay.
It's just the floodplain management, that
Okay,
section,
okay, thank you, yeah.
3.7, that is, you know, specific to any property in a regulatory floodway, you know, in a floodplain.
Okay.
I mean, I do think it's like a very vague definition of a basement, but if it's something that is recommended in order for people to participate in this program, or for the township to participate in the program, I mean, is there any, I mean, if we wanted, oh geez, yeah. Just thinking about like ways of like, it could be add to it, if we wanted to make like a definition that maybe would, you know,
It's in,
align with the zoning ordinance, or if it's this.
I think the answer is no.
in my prior career, I had a lot of opportunities to look at language required by the feds, and if you had a local policy or local regulation that addressed it, the feds were fine with it, as long as an unfamiliar reader from the federal agency could sit down with your document and their document and have it be almost word for word, hold it up to the window, and with the exception of the font, everything matches. That's how they do business. So,
It brings into question, in my mind, where are our floodplains in the township? And I know it doesn't matter with what we're doing tonight, it just brings into question, you know, where are those located?
Okay, I mean, I can get those to you. FEMA also has a very interactive webpage. I mean, you can go into any search engine, type in like FEMA searchable map by address, and you can type in any address you want in the entire US, and it pinpoints where it is and if it's in a floodplain.
I did that a while
Yeah.
back, and I was very interested to find out that the western boundary for the floodplain was, apparently there's a mark on the culvert that runs under the north end of Meadowbrook on the culvert. On the east side of the culvert, there is some kind of an identifier, and that culvert is probably about a foot below grade just due to erosion and stuff, but apparently at the time that the FEMA had built that, or identified that floodplain, that was their boundary.
For that creek, or?
I think it's for the creek. And I'm thinking for the water in that creek to reach there, we would have to have some big rain.
Well, or the culvert get pumped up. Interesting.
Yeah. Any other, we have, let's see, we have a motion and support for that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of ZO 2017-04-21 amendment to Township Board and forward on to the county.
Okay, we have a motion to approve ZO 2017-04-21 and move it forward to the County Planning Commission.
Second that.
We have support. Any additional discussion?
My only discussion with this is I'd like the motion to go forward with a cover page that we're doing this in accordance with FEMA or whatever requirements. I'd like to make sure that that's on
Okay.
there so that anybody that reads this, they understand. what
Okay,
we're doing.
sure. Kendra, since you made the original motion, would you feel comfortable in adding this proposed preamble in order to come into the conformance with the National Flood Insurance Program and comply with all applicable statutory and regulatory requirements? The Elmwood Township Planning Commission is recommending approval of ZO 2017-04-21.
Sure, yes, I would.
Okay.
I'll
and
second that.
You'll second that
Modified motion.
amended, modified motion. Any questions regarding the modification to that motion?
Just to clarify, it doesn't matter. We really don't have a choice.
We're conforming with a federal definition.
Right.
That is, if you go to FEMA's webpage, any area of the building having its floor subgrade below ground level on all sides, that is the federal definition of a basement.
Right.
We are conforming with that definition. So yes.
Yeah, this is a civic duty that we are taking part in.
Do you think, oh, sorry, can I say, or are we done with the motions? Sorry. I don't
We're
wanna-
done with the
Okay.
motion, we're
Okay.
done with we're in discussion right now,
Cool.
or question.
Sorry, I didn't want to impose. Do you think that it would be worthwhile kind of going through and seeing where basement kind of, I don't want to make more work for you, but like is incorporated into the zoning ordinance otherwise and just kind of double check to make sure it's not, it isn't doing, is aligning with it the way that Jeff was saying? Because I just would hate to see something in the future that's based off of this definition and then it changes and then.
I mean, just a side note, because well, actually, no, I will wait till letter K.
Oh,
I should have waited.
okay,
Sorry.
very good. So we have a motion and support on the floor. I believe we're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item K, discussion on zoning ordinance.
Well, so recently, a commissioner asked me to review the zoning ordinance and how basement fits into our zoning ordinance. The word basement is stated 3 times in our zoning ordinance, twice in the definition of basement, and the 3rd time is in the definition of commercial use, which states the use of property in connection with the purchase, sale, barter, display, or exchange of goods, wares, merchandise, or personal services, other than, or the maintenance of service offices, or recreation, or amusement, enterprise, or garage/basement sales operating more than 12 times in a year. So, we're good. It aligns. I mean, it won't impact, I don't see how it would impact the rest of our zoning ordinance.
I have a related question for Jeff. Are you aware of any building codes that would require you to go with a poured wall versus a set block due to the soil or moisture conditions?
No.
Okay.
No, I've seen even wood basements in wet soils. And if you backfill them properly and drain them properly, they're excellent.
Well, interesting you bring that up. A quick side note, an acquaintance of mine has a residence with a wood basement they put on the market about 5 years ago, and they had a home inspection, and the inspector noted that one of the basement walls was about 2.5 inches out of plumb, and it turns out that the way the soil was backfilled and everything. There's a lot of groundwater there. The hydrostatic pressure literally has been pushing their basement inwards, so they've had to take it off the market. And they got some bids for remediation, and basically all the engineers say you jack up the house, you pull that out, and you put a masonry basement in, which 5 years ago was out of their affordability range, and I can only imagine that today. So,
Is that somewhere local?
yeah.
We can talk about that
Yeah,
later.
okay. And I didn't mean to get us off topic, so. Is there any other discussion on zoning ordinance? Any questions or concerns about our ordinances from the commissioners? I would like to say that's been very helpful to me, that having had you go through our ordinances and bring up ones that need just a little bit to finish them or to clarify, or you read them and then you say, gee, why is this here?
It's an ongoing process, which is why it's a living document.
Okay. Thank you. Item L, comments from chairs. Thank you for your diligence tonight. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow night. Comments from planning commissioners?
We are gonna have a quorum tomorrow night, right?
Yes,
I believe
I won't be here.
you will not be here, so we have.
we will have a quorum.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. 5 out of 7 makes it work.
Chicken.
Smart.
Well, no, we wish you safe travels.
Thank you.
Rick, I've got a quick question for Sarah.
Yes.
So back to the changes that we were looking at. I think we talked about this for a second when I saw you last week. Waiving requirements for site plan approval. How, is that up to the applicant then? Like, do you envision that being up to the applicant to say why or they
Yes,
shouldn't be subjected to?
yes.
Okay.
And then it's up to the planning commission to
say,
grant
okay.
that or not.
Okay, cool. Just curious, kind of.
Yeah. And again, it's not like the commission would be waiving setbacks by
Right.
any frame of the imagination. It's
Right.
just like, oh, are you going to have to go and so for example, when the Masonic Temple came before us for the motel, I mean, like, it's just, okay, we're working on a very dated plan. Are we gonna have you go out and do a soil survey for the site, or how, I mean, no, I mean, there's online, like through the USGS and through the Wetlands Map Viewer, I mean, there are more cost-effective ways of getting the information that, the commission would need for a more basic project. If it's going to be a very extensive project, obviously, we would not be waiving, and I would not recommend you waive anything that's in it. It's just like, would requiring this, like, will it actually impact anybody? And again, I foresee that just being, getting the whole site surveyed for, again, using another example, the DeYoung natural area. I mean, they need to show everything on site. According to the site plan, our requirements under, Article 8, they need to show all existing vegetation, the types of vegetation, all wetlands and water bodies. I mean, should that be surveyed, and should somebody go out and do like a tree survey of the entire 40-acre parcel? No, I mean, that's not the intent. If it's a small portion of the area, I mean, the commission historically has done that. This just kind of solidifies, the reasoning.
Right,
I mean, that's how I viewed it, so.
makes sense.
If the commission or township board doesn't agree with it, then, yeah.
Any other comments from commissioners? Comments from staff?
Thank you all, for your continued patience, and also, moving forward, know that the office is quite busy. Just to kind of give you a heads up, we have quite a few applications in the pipeline. People who are present are also applying. I have essentially what will be two applications from Farm Club. We have an application for site plan review for Thompson Surgical Instruments, I believe. There is a potential pending site plan review and special use permit for a mixed-use building on Carter Road. There's the Virons have submitted an application for a winery and tasting room. And I know I'm missing, and I've seen a digital submittal, but I have not seen a formal application, hard copy application for a cell tower. So that's coming down the pipeline in the next few months, in addition with other matters, so.
And cell towers fall under our essential services?
No, no,
Okay.
it's a special use permit.
Okay.
So you might see some staff reports that are going to be generated by a consultant, because I
Okay.
do not have enough time to process
Okay.
all of these applications.
Got it. Okay, any other comments? Now we are at public comment. If you wish to make a public comment, please do so. I will open the public comment at 8 p.m.
Hello, I'm Nate Griswold. I'm the owner of Inhabitect LLC, located just down the road on Lincoln, actually in the next township over on Solon. Actually, a resident at 9450 East Harbor Hills. So you're talking about my backyard when you're talking about that culvert. That's right down the street
Oh.
from my house. So
Okay.
now I'm gonna check my,
Foot.
check that map you talked about online when I get home. And I also have a wood basement. So you guys are touching on all kinds of stuff today that was relevant to my personal life. But I'm here today representing my clients, Jen and her husband Andy up the road at the Taproot Farmstead. We have put an application in for a special use permit for a winery and tasting room and farm market. So we've submitted that as of Friday, and I think it's a really great project for the township, a really great use of that property. Inhabitect, if you don't know who we are, we're a green infrastructure and sustainable landscape design build firm. So we're looking at preserving the headwaters of the creek that's up there, making sure that we're preserving that. The maximum use of that property could have been multiple homes impacting the ecology and the environment in that valley right there, and they're preserving it as a farm. And hope to have a winery there, production facility, as well as a tasting area. So that you're going to see that next month, I hope. We'll see. Based on what was just mentioned, how many are in line, we'll see. But this is Jen here and her daughter. I'll let her say something, but I just wanted to introduce myself to you guys, and that I am a Elmwood Township resident and business owner here, and wanted to let you know who I am. So
Thank you.
hopefully I talk to you soon. And I was the Elmwood Township the county planning commissioner, but I had to step down for some reason. So the stuff you're sending us up there, I was in that seat up there. So
Okay.
for a while, but I had to step down for some family reasons. So anyways, that's me. I just want to introduce myself, and this
Okay.
is Jen here.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Jen Byron. This is my daughter Winter, and I have my husband Andy, Lennon, and Zeb are at home. We were just excited to be a part of this community. We've been looking forward to moving on to the 8850 East Lincoln Road now since we bought the property in November of 2019. It's been an ongoing process. I have, alongside of being a mother of three, I also own a restaurant. The idea behind the property is to keep a restaurant away from that land and just grow the agricultural side of it with 3 acres of strict apples with more fruit crop, utilizing the maples that are already there, having a vegetable patch, and preserving the wild land, like Nate had said. We're very in touch with this township and the beauty of it, and just want to be able to work off the land and have a family home business.
May I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
You're proposing a winery?
Yes.
What variety of grapes will you plan on having in tillage?
Well, cidery actually falls under the
Oh,
wine
cidery.
category.
Okay,
Yeah, so it would be a
okay.
cidery,
Okay,
but
very
on
good.
a
Okay.
state level.
Yeah, you
they-
mentioned the strict apple trees, so what variety would fall in that category?
Well, it's funny you asked that because right now we're playing around with the apple varietals that we've purchased. We've We've purchased 40 and then planted them last spring. This spring, this spring we have another 300 coming in to plant, anywhere from European, like, to heritage to modern apples to get the right blend for the ciders. Yes, we'll have a couple different varieties planted. Northern Spy, Kingston Black, Porter's Perfection, the Jonathans are already in the ground. We have some wine saps coming. Henry's Pippin, if I didn't already mention that. There's about 15 different varieties
Wow,
that we'll be
okay.
planting.
Some of them border on like the antique category?
Yeah, the heirloom.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Variety's not part of our zoning ordinance, which is,
Oh.
I'm just always curious on apple varieties. Thank you for indulging me.
I've also been working in the farming industry since 2007. I had managed a 1/4 acre farm, moved up to an 8-acre farm that we leased the land of certified organic land. We plan on doing a regenerative organic practice, not necessarily being certified organic, but using organic practices to keep the chemicals out of our watershed. That is the route that we're planning on taking. We do not plan on opening up to have crazy amounts of buses on our property. I just want to make that very clear. It is, we are living on the land. It would be more for intimate settings to have people out to do tastings or do a farm tour, the agro side of it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but thank you for listening, and I look
Thank you.
forward to seeing you next month.
Okay. Winter, do you have any questions for us? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll close public comment at 8:06. Any other questions or concerns before we move to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Support?
We have support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:07 PM.